welcome. We've got another episode of the Late Night Vision Show, episode 207. That's 207. It is Thursday. If you're watching this thing right now on a Thursday morning and you're one of the first ones to watch it when it comes out, we appreciate you watching it. If it is 6 months from the air of this show and you just now found the show, thank you for checking it out. This is the Late Night Vision Show, your one-stop shop for anything night vision, thermal hunting related, hog, predator, basically anything that walks across your property that you don't want to be there within the legal bounds. We're going to be talking about here. Yeah. We're not going to be talking about road hunting or shooting deer at night. This is all the legal stuff, but the fun stuff and some things that may be considered out of bounds a little bit. But anyway, with that being said, we've got a great show. And as always, to kick it off, the co-pilot of our show, the man out there steering the ship behind the scenes a lot of times, Mr. Jason Robertson, the owner of Outdoor Legacy Gear and the title sponsor of the show. Welcome, Jason. How are you doing, bud?
Well, thank you. I was a little concerned where you were going with the intro. It was getting derailed. It was all over the place. And then I thought we were going to be road hunting and shooting terrorists before it was over, and I was getting really, really concerned we were going to have to do a retake. So,
yeah, well, I get calls from guys that talk about all the things that they hunt, and you can imagine when the people are buying a night vision thermal scope, it's I've got rats in our hay barn, or pigeons, or you name it. And there's a lot of things. Bigfoot, we've got some Bigfoot hunters out there.
We've had some,
and it is legit. I mean, exactly.
It is. And you joke about even shooting deer, but we've sold a lot of scopes to farmers who have depredation permits issued by their state or county, where they're going out there. These guys are growing the food that we all eat. And they do this, for a living. And there's, hundreds of deer coming out there tearing their crops up. Yep. And they got to go out there at night and legally, shoot a lot of these deer. So anyway, it's some of the things that would normally be illegal. Sometimes you can, legally get the permit to do and have to do. So a lot of uses for this night vision and thermal stuff. That's
absolutely.
For sure.
Well, we've got a great show for y'all today. Again, we are reviewing the brand new Pulsar Thermion XP, probably the longest name of any scopes that we have.
The longest.
Let me start over. The Pulsar Thermion 2 XP50 LRF Pro. Hopefully I said all of that in the correct order. But yes, the brand new Thermion.
The Pro LRF.
I knew I'd probably get it out of order. But the brand new Thermion with the LRF, the first one that's out. We're reviewing it right now, and we've got a lot to say about it. Probably a lot of people out there have seen it on social media. There's been a lot of buzz about it, of course. A lot of people using it. We've been testing it for a while now. We've got some content and stuff that we're going to be putting out there, and some videos as well. But first of all, before we jump into the review as normal, if you're interested in any night vision or thermal optic, you can definitely give us a call at 877-350-1818. If you're looking to buy, you need some advice, there's a lot of options, and every day the options are growing. We get a lot of people that call and say, I watch your videos and I'm even more confused than I was before. But definitely give us a call if you want to buy. 877-350-1818. Everything we talk about, all the scopes, all the accessories are on the website, outdoorlegacygear.com. Jason, with that being said, let's jump into the review.
Okay, so I do want to say something. I want, if the Pulsar factory guys from Europe are watching this show, and we know that they watch a lot of our shows, if they're watching, we got to help you with this naming thing, because, man, I get out of breath. the names, every time y'all come out with a new model, you add something to the end or in the middle, and I love y'all, but, man, it's getting out of control. So this is the official review of the Pulsar Thermion 2 XP50 Pro LRF. And I don't know, maybe it's the LRF Pro, but I'm just not sure. I think it's the Pro LRF. So it's a mouthful. There's a lot going on here, but let's talk about this awesome scope. So I'm going to give you a big, long list of a rundown. And I always say this, or sometimes I don't, but I should. there's going to be numbers here. I'm going to throw stuff out. And if you're new to all this, you're going to be like, what is this guy? He's just talking Greek. This is 2 minutes of my life I'll never get back. Totally understandable. At the other hand, there's a lot of guys who they know what all this means. They're very, very interested in the nitty gritty. They're, what we're doing here is we're opening the hood up, looking in there. And if a guy understands how the motor works, he wants to know about the spark plug cables. All right. It's a big deal to him. So if we actually open the hood up of the truck, I'm just trying to find where you pour in some oil. I don't know anything else about it, so I can feel your pain. But I'm going to go over these specs, and if something in here you're like, I don't know what that means, but it sounds important, give us a call. We're always glad to explain what any of this means and, how it compares to other scopes. So don't be intimidated by these numbers and letters if it doesn't mean anything to you. All right, so let's get this thing going. The price of this unit is $5,999. Round that up, it's a $6,000 scope. And we're going to compare that to, say, the Pulsar Thermion 2 XP50, which is extremely similar scope, does not have the laser rangefinder. This is a little bit of an upgraded model from that, and that unit is $49.99 or $5,000. So you're paying $1,000 to get the laser rangefinder. It is a 2-power base magnification. That's optical through the lens. So that's your best image quality. And then it does have digital zoom that goes up to 16 power. So 2 to 16 digitally. It is a 640 by 480 17 micron thermal sensor. It's a 50 hertz refresh rate. And the sensor has an NETD rating of less than 25 millikelvin. And right there, I'm sure that I lost a lot of people. And I'll be honest with you, I don't understand a whole lot about it either.
Explain that for us, Jason. Go in depth.
Yeah,
and
exactly. I can use it in a sentence, but so here's what it means. This is all that matters to you. It's all that matters to me. The lower that number, the more sensitive the sensor is. That's a good thing. You need a sensitive sensor, right? So the more sensitive it is, the more it's going to pick up. It's just better. Okay, the lower that number, the better. So that's a very good millikelvin rating, less than 25 millikelvins. It's got a field of view of 65 foot horizontally. That's left to right at 100 yards. So if you walk out there 100 yards and you stick your buddy on one side, another buddy on the other, and they're 65 foot apart, that's how far you're going to see at 100 yards. It has an AMOLED display that is 1024 by 768 resolution. Again, that's just the display. The thermal unit itself is 640 by 480. It has a true 50 millimeter lens. It has picture-in-picture function. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. It does have the laser rangefinder that is permanently attached to the front of it. Hans is going to do a walk around in a minute. He'll show you that, kind of show you where it is. The ranging distance is 875 yards. So if you can hold it steady enough, you can range out 875. But I'm going to tell you, you're going to have to hold it really, really steady to thread that needle that far. It is accurate to within plus or minus 1 yard. The unit does have audio and video recording. The audio is fabulous if that's important to you. A lot of guys are asking, about different scopes and does it have audio recording? Pulsar has the audio recording down to a science. It's beautiful audio and video. It has Wi-Fi, so you can use the Pulsar Stream Vision 2. That's their newest app, and it will work with this unit. Batteries. We're going to talk a little bit more about the batteries here in a little bit, kind of in our general discussion, but just like the rest of the Thermions, it is a 2-battery pack system. It has one battery that lays inside the scope tube horizontally. You can't get out. That battery is in there, but it is removable, rechargeable, serviceable by Pulsar if it ever needs to be. And then you also have a removable, rechargeable battery that goes under the top turret cap. Hans will show that as well. And so it's just like the other Thermion models with that 2-battery pack system. The unit is rated for a 375 H&H or 12-gauge shotgun recoil. That is extremely high recoil rating, higher than most scopes on the market. It's also IPS 6.7 rated, meaning it's completely dust-proof, waterproof, submersible to 3 foot for 30 minutes. 10 reticle patterns or options, which is probably more reticles than any other brand out there. Nine different color options on those reticles. Rated for down to negative 13 degrees Fahrenheit. And the unit weighs 34.2 ounces. Fun fact here, the regular Thermion 2 XP50 without the laser rangefinder weighs 13.17 ounces. So you're really only looking at about a 2.5 ounce difference by going to the laser rangefinder, which is pretty impressive to me. ID range on this unit, we're going to just give our kind of standard here. We're going to say 400 plus yards on normal size game animals, hogs, coyotes, determining a coyote from a deer. Honestly, with experience, good conditions, you're going to get that out past 400 yards. You may get it out in 500 plus, but I think a good, safe, conservative range, 400 yards, you should be able to definitely tell the difference in those smaller animals and do, very easily. Detection range. Now, this is what a number that Pulsar puts on it, and they basically do this by saying that you could detect about 6 foot tall, hot object, basically like a human, detect that there is some bit of heat there. And that detection range on this thing is about 1,968 yards. That is over a mile. I don't know. That's a long ways to detect that something's out there. I don't know. I think that's past the usable point of how far you'll probably be using it. But anyway, those are the basic specs. I'm just looking over my stuff here to see if I missed anything, and I don't think I did. Again, it's a $5,999 unit. Hans is going to just kind of walk around this scope and show you a lot of those things that I mentioned. Oh, one thing I forgot about this. It is worth mentioning that you can run this optic off of a USB battery pack if for some reason that you want to. I had a guy that was very surprised the other day when I told him that. So, you do have the rechargeable batteries, but if you, in really cold weather or, the batteries run out and you need something, you can plug in a USB battery pack to the side and run the scope.
Thank you. That was a lot of specs, Jason. The only man in the business that can make that many specs seem interesting. So good job on that.
They'd seem long and redundant is what you meant to say.
Long and redundant. So let's take a look at the scope. Like I said, I'm going to have to back up a little bit as much as I can and stay on the mic. This is the Thermion 2 XP50 LRF Pro, if we're saying it in the right order. 50 millimeter objective lens. It's got a spring loaded, which is what I like. And is an improvement above from the original Thermion design where it was just kind of a snap. This is a spring-loaded plastic lens cover that opens up very nicely. So as you can see, the question that everybody had when they announced that they were going to put a laser rangefinder on the Thermion design is, where the heck are you going to put it? Well, there you go. It's like a shark fin right on top. The only place really they probably could put it. So, they didn't have a lot of options. But other than that, a lot of similarities to the original Thermion. A couple differences. You've got the focus objective knobs right here around this bell. So it's on two different sides. I'm going to flip it around. So it's an ambidextrous design for focusing the objective lens. Now, before, it was a big rubber grommet around the bell of the objective lens that you just twisted. I actually like this better. It's a lot easier to fine-tune the picture image quickly right there with that small adjustment. And if you're right or left-handed, it works out either way. The power button is right now, they had to move it to the back of this laser rangefinder unit. So the big blue button, you can't miss it, but they moved it. It used to be up here on the front, right here by the eyepiece. What they had to replace that power button, they had to replace it with the rangefinder button. So they needed to add a button and move a button. So you got the laser rangefinder button right there by the eyepiece diopter lens right there. Then you've got your magnification button, record button are the same. Your menu button on the side is exactly the same as it was before. You've got the internal battery, like Jason discussed, and then you've got your removable battery on top and that removable grommet up at the top, or a turret at the top. And again, we've got it mounted with the American Defense Manufacturing. This is the 30 millimeter Recon mount. We sell them at Outdoor Legacy, $199. It does fit the mount perfectly. And the great thing about the design, again, of this mount and the scope is that it fits and works very, very well on a bolt action rifle or an AR style rifle. And I want to point out, because we do get a lot of questions, this scope and this mount will mount to any Picatinny rail. So any AR platform, AR-10, AR-15, or any bolt action rifle that has a one-piece Picatinny rail, it will fit on that. And like I said, on a bolt action rifle with this tube style design of scopes, it allows you to have more mounting flexibilities to set that scope back further and get good eye relief. But also it works very, very well on any AR style rifle as well. So I actually mount this on a bolt action hybrid. So it's a bolt action rifle, but designed like a hybrid, or like an AR. So it's got a pistol grip, a collapsible stock, all that kind of got that same feel, but works perfectly on anything you want to put it on, really. So if you like to shoot, and I always ask people, if you like to shoot a bolt action or AR style rifle, you like to switch back and forth from time to time, this type of design of scope is going to be something you're probably want to lean towards, because it does give you multiple mounting options, flexibility with being able to get proper eye relief. So that is the walk around.
Okay, man, I'm not going to lie to you. I was sitting over here laughing.
Were you asleep?
Well, I did. I was over here checking the weather.
I want to tell people this is behind the scenes stuff. Before we move on, I have a funny story.
Oh, brother.
I have when I edit the podcast, I've got to watch very well, because when I edit, I've got to go back and watch the whole video clip and all this stuff. So many times I've got to clip Jason out of the show because he's looking around. Yeah, when I'm talking, he's looking around and like, what the heck is he doing? Looking, updating his Facebook. I don't know what he's doing. Man. He is so. I have to clip him out so many times. But anyway,
okay. So I'm just gonna say something, y'all. I would not have brought this up, but since he's exaggerating, there has been at least one, if not two, instances in the last month that Hans had to clip himself up because he got up to go to the bathroom during the show.
That is a true story.
It's true. He's like, we get done. He's like, hey, I had an emergency.
And I can always count on Jason to keep the conversation going, just not stop talking. I was like, I know I got another 10 minutes. So I have had bathroom incidents where I had no choice. I had to go.
Hey, you're getting to be an old man. It's okay. It's all right. Okay, let's get this train back on the rails. Let's talk some about this scope. So generally speaking, I'll say this. If you know much about the show, you know much about Hans and I, we are very big fans of the Pulsar Thermions, specifically the XP50 models. The XP50 Thermion, the Thermion 2 XP50, they've always been our favorite scopes. I mean, for what we do, the way we hunt, we really like the magnification. We like the scope. We just really, really enjoy these scopes. So no different with this laser rangefinder, Pro model. I think, again, it's the same basic design. There is a little bit of a difference. I want to talk about the button layout on the rear of the scope. If you're familiar with a Thermion, this is going to be new to you. If this will be the first one you've owned, it won't matter. But that button on the back, normally there's three buttons. It's split three ways. And Hans has showed you where those buttons are. The back button used to be the power. But on the LRF model, the power is up front. Now you've got the laser rangefinder button there where the power was. And then you've got your recording and your zoom button. So that's something that it's nothing wrong with it. It's just taking a little bit of time to get used to because we're used to the power button being there. But it is nice when you want to use the laser rangefinder that I mean, it's the big button. It's right there. That's
yeah.
a logical place for
is.
it to press that thing and to get the rangefinder up. I want to talk about something that is different. That this is going to be important to you if you've used one of the Pulsar Trail laser rangefinders or the one of the Axion laser rangefinders in the past. This will be different. And it'll be important to you if you've never used one at all. You'll kind of understand how it works. So when you're looking through the optic, there's no laser rangefinder box or anything like that. You've got your crosshairs, and that's it. The moment that you press that laser rangefinder button on the rear of the scope, when you press that, immediately and instantly, your crosshairs go away. A little square laser range finding box pops up in the middle of your screen, and this is new, your picture-in-picture immediately enables.
Yeah.
Okay, so that just instantly picture-in-picture pops up, crosshairs go away.
Right.
There are crosshairs in your picture-in-picture. So if for some reason you needed to shoot, and I'm going to explain a little better here, but the other thing that is important is if you accidentally press that and you go, oh my gosh, my crosshairs went away. What's going on? It only takes about 2.5 seconds. And if you don't press the button again to send the laser out, then that all goes away and your crosshairs come right back. So there's not a big fear of like, I pushed a button, now it's dark, I don't know how to get out of it.
Right.
No, you just bump it, it's going to go right back to your crosshairs after 2 or 3 seconds. So no problem. Now, if you want to leave your picture-in-picture up and you want to just be in what they call scan mode, now you press and hold that same button. Again, instantly picture-in-picture comes up. It has crosshairs in it, and you have your laser range finding box, and it is pulsing that laser out. You don't touch anything again. It's just sending it out, sending it out, sending it out, trying to give you a range of whatever you're pointing at, whether it's a hog, a coyote, the ground, a tree, whatever. It's going to continue to, put that range there displayed on the screen. Now, so the difference in the compared to the older models is that the picture-in-picture automatically comes up as soon as the laser rangefinder is activated.
Right.
So that's the one thing that's different. But for those that don't know, I want to also point this out. The laser rangefinder will only functions at the base magnification of your scope. Okay, so your big image, your big picture will always be at 2 power when you're ranging. Okay, so if let's just say you've got digital zoom up to 8 power, all right, and you hit your laser rangefinder button, you will go back to 2 power. The big image will go back to 2 power. Now your picture-in-picture, you can still zoom up through there, but the main image will always be at the base mag. Right. I have a feeling that's as clear as mud. I felt like I was fumbling all the way through, and people who don't know what I'm talking about are probably more confused, but I did just want to point that out.
They'll call us anyway and ask what the heck you were talking about. They'll call me and say, hey, Hans, what was Jason talking about? Hey, I want to talk about people, whenever a new scope comes out, there's always this first, a lot of people don't like change. And I will say you and I were in that camp when they converted from the trail style to the Thermion. You and I, at first, it took us a while to get to
took
like
about 5 minutes to change our mind.
To like the way the Thermions look. A lot of people on social media are talking about, man, it looks goofy. Got the laser rangefinder right there on top. And Jason and I were talking about this. Yes, right there on top. I'm not going to say it looks goofy because I don't think it does. But what I will say is that in what you and I were talking about before the show is where the heck are you going to put it? It's a tube style. It's a two style scope. There's really not a lot of places to put it. I think they did what they had to do, and I think it looks pretty good. And I think for all you out there, I think as more you see it, the more you get used to it, the better it'll look to you. But people talk about laser rangefinder and the way they look, and this one, the way this one looks. I'm going to say there's not a thermal scope on the market, in my opinion, that has a laser rangefinder that doesn't kind of just look a little bit goofy. and
it's because they all look like a growth.
It does.
It's like I don't care if it's on the top, the side. It's a growth on the side of the scope.
There's either a box hanging off the side of it or something hanging on top of it. They all look a little bit weird. But I think that the design of this scope, first of all, they put it probably the only place that they could put it. I think that they made it look as good as they could. And I think it looks good. But functionality wise, they also had to consider where we're putting it is normally where our focus ring is. So what are we going to do now? And they basically had to replace it with 2 focus knobs, one on either side. So I think they did a great job. When I first saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, well, it's a laser rangefinder. It's like, what are you going to do? But the way it looks is growing on me. I think it looks good. I think back to the old trail models, that are still around, the Trail 2s with the laser rangefinder box on the side. And I'm like, man, that just kind of looks goofy too, So I think for all of you out there that don't love the way it looks right now, I definitely think it'll grow on you. It's already started to grow on me as well. So I think just takes some getting used to.
Yeah. I agree. I want to talk about another thing here. This is something that I glossed over in the specs that I wanted to bring up, and it's about the battery life. So one thing that is touted in the all the advertising and the specs of the Thermion 2 Pro LRF model is the better, longer battery life. Right. And the specs actually say that you can get 10 hours of battery life out of it. We generally try to test the battery life on most of the scopes before we do our review. Sometimes we forget until it's too late. Exactly. And it's like, oh my gosh, we didn't test, so we'll have to do it after the review, which is not helpful to you on the review. But when you call us, we can normally tell you. But we tested this unit, and we got, what's what we call our bench test, which means charge the thing fully up, turn it on, set it on the desk. Okay. So this is really a perfect world scenario. This is not being out there at 0 degrees and turning it off and on and video recording. This is just the best case, turning it on and leaving it. Right. And we got 8 hours and 45 minutes out of a single full charge. Now, I'm going to come back to this. That's not 10 hours. But on the Thermion 2 XP50, current model at this point of April 2022, on our bench test of that unit, we got about 5 hours and 15 minutes. So we're getting about a 60% increase in battery life. So this is significant. Oh, yeah. All right. We're going from 5 hours or 5 hours and 15 minutes, 5 1/4 to 8 3/4. All right, that's a big jump. Now,
on the same size batteries.
I'm going to say,
yeah. And it's,
what'd you say?
On the same size batteries. So it's not like you're having to pack a bigger battery.
That's an APS-2 battery in the top of the unit. Yeah. That's right. That's an APS-2. So you can put the larger APS-3 battery, and you're going to get even longer. You may get that 10 hours there. I don't know. But as it comes out of the box with the APS-2, the smaller battery, this is what we got. Now, I'm not going to make an apology for Pulsar. I'm not going to try to do a cover up or anything like that. But what I will say, it is possible, and we didn't do this, but we might, and people are not going to like this when I say this, but there are natural and normal variations in these batteries. It's the reason that we, especially on any of these proprietary batteries from any manufacturer, we always give an about this. And here's why. Because I have done this with some other scopes before. You test it, you get some amount of hours, you take another identical unit, you test it, and you may get more or you may get less. There's a variation. Yeah. People don't like to think that. You like to think this is a 3-hour battery. Well, it could be 2.5 or it could be 3.5.
I think people understand that, though. Yeah, I think people understand it. And I will say,
so I guess the point I'm making in this is, and I'll put the bow on it. You might pull another one of these out and get 10 hours. Okay. I don't honestly, I don't think you're going to, but you could. You could also pull one out and you might only get 8 hours and 15, not 8 hours and 45. But I'm comfortable saying what we got which again, 8 hours, 45 minutes, which is a huge increase over the 5 hours and 15 minutes we got.
Yeah.
Now, kind of funny on that. I remember when we did that, I had somebody else, a customer of ours, tell me, hey, I tested mine. I got 6 hours and 15 minutes. That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. Again, there's variations in the batteries, but we're happy with that. That's a big increase. And if you add that APS-3, that taller battery, to that, you are going to get probably closer to that 10 hours. And so anyway, I'm very happy that we're getting that much better battery life out of it. That's going to be very good for the cold weather hunters, the guys that are, hunting in those extreme brutal temperatures. It's going to be a big improvement for them for sure.
So if it gets 8 to 10 hours, and if we can say, the battery life on the Thermion, the way it comes is 8 to 10 hours. First of all, like you said, a big improvement from the other Thermion models, and let's not be shy about it or naive about it. The battery setup or the battery life was a negative for the previous Thermions, and we've talked about it. It's we've mentioned it, we've talked about it every time we've done any review of a Thermion. We've talked about the battery was really the only negative about it. So what they've done is they've raised that to 8 to 10 hours or so. But think about this: all the other scopes on the market that we brag about how long the battery life is, this puts this scope right there in that same category as far as battery life.
Yes.
Of all the other scopes that we talk about that say, man, the batteries last a long time. Well, this puts them right there with it without naming any names. But it's a significant improvement, even if it is only 8 hours and 45 minutes like we got out of this one, and not the 10 hours that they said. If it's 8 to 10 hours, it's right up there with the best of them.
It is. I 100% agree with that. I want to jump into a couple quick things. We always like to kind of talk about, what we like and what we would like to change, what we don't like. I want to talk about a couple things that I found. Well, there's one thing I found a little bit annoying, and it doesn't hurt anything, but it was annoying. So sometimes things that annoy you, they're not really bad. They just get under your skin. And it's something that, when I bring this up, I probably shouldn't, because a lot of people would never notice it. But when you turn on the laser rangefinder, so when you press the button, all right, it immediately, as I said, pops up picture in picture, and then you have the little laser rangefinder box, a square. But when you press that button, it sends the laser out. Well, why that's annoying to me, and it doesn't hurt anything, but when it comes up, it gives me a reading of whatever I was pointing at when I pressed the button. But I wasn't on my animal yet. Mm-hmm. So I immediately get this reading that's a false reading. It doesn't do me any good. It's not false. It's true, whatever it happened to be pointing at. But I wasn't aiming it because I couldn't see the little square yet.
Right.
So it's just odd to me that it does that. I mean, the older models, as far as I'm aware, didn't do that. You pressed it, it popped up. You had to press it again to get the range. This one, just as soon as it is the button is pressed, it sends the laser out. Again, you put the box on the animal, you press it again, it sends the laser and gives you the proper reading. I just found it kind of annoying every time I would turn it on to get a range up there that wasn't it wasn't accurate because I wasn't aiming at anything.
I'll throw you under the bus. I remember you and I talked about it. It really didn't bother me that much. But hey, to each his own. It's good that people know about it, so it's not they learn about it for the first time when they open the box. But to me, it wasn't a huge deal. What I want to mention real quick on a positive note, and I want to see if you notice it, because you and I have not mentioned this at all, and I didn't time it to get a time. Man, that boot up time on it seemed quicker. By the time I pushed the power button and I looked in the scope, it was ready to go. It seemed faster than normal. I don't know if that's true.
They mention it somewhere. Like I don't remember. I saw somewhere in some of their marketing promos. It's like 2 or 3. It's something stupid.
So fast.
It is fast.
It's awesome.
You turn it on and it's on.
Yeah.
I mean, it is on. No, I agree. A super fast boot up. Another thing that I think is I don't want to say it's a negative. I think it's a little different, hard to get used to. Maybe for us, and we talked about, is where the power button is. I think it's a logical place for the power button to be. We need the laser rangefinder button at the back. We're always going to be manipulating that. But the power button on the front, sometimes I would be like trying to find it, like I'm pressing the laser rangefinder button because that's where they've always been. It's like, why is it not shutting off?
Right.
And I forget the buttons up there. That's fine. That doesn't matter at all. But I do think where it does come into play is the guys that run their scope in a semi-auto calibration or a semi-auto nuke. I don't. I run in auto. It's just one less thing for me to think about. I know you normally run in semi-auto where you have to reach up there and press that, and I would think that's probably in a little bit of an awkward place.
Yeah, and I remember you saying my arms are too short, like to reach that button. All that. You're right. For those of you that run your calibration in automatic, that's not that big of a deal to you because you're turning the scope on and you don't hit the power button until you're ready to put it in standby or to turn it off completely. So you're not on that power button as much as the people like myself that run it in semi-automatic. So for all of you out there that don't know, you can put this scope into either automatic where it automatically nukes itself or recalibrates the screen, refreshes it, or you can put it semi. And then in the semi mode, for the screen to refresh, you got to press the power button, just a quick press of the power button. The reason why I do that quickly is because I don't like the screen to freeze up in the middle of a shot. And on automatic, that thing is going to refresh whenever it decides it needs to. It doesn't know that you've got your crosshairs on a hog and you're about to pull the trigger. So semi-automatic works a lot better for me. But I am on that power button a lot more than a lot of people because I'm constantly refreshing the screen. So yeah, it takes some getting used to. You're reaching out there in front. It is a little bit of a reach. Not that big of a deal, but if you're using a Thermion right now, you're going to catch yourself, and you switch to a Thermion LRF, you're going to catch yourself thinking that you're about to nuke the screen, but you're actually about to range something because the button's in a different spot. So keep that in mind.
So the last thing I'm going to say here that is what I think is, something that, again, I hate to say is a negative, but maybe something that is not my favorite, is this unit being this new sensor, less than 25 millikelvins. It is very sensitive, and that is a double-edged sword. We see that with a lot of these optics that are very, very sensitive like this. You get a better image quality. You can detect things further. There's a lot of pros. When an animal, you've seen the videos, guys, where somebody's got an animal out there at say 50 or 100 yards, and let's use a cow as an example, or a deer, or a hog. I mean, you can just see like the hide on them, I mean, you can see the mud on them. You can see, and they just look amazing. That's what you get with these lower millikelvin ratings.
Right.
But a negative of that can be that in certain conditions, you can get where it's a little too sensitive, and you might have where you really need to lower that contrast way down. That's a way that Hans and I have found to get around sometimes too sensitive of an image where it almost will get too dark, like the foreground. And so we'll really lower that contrast way down and maybe even keep that brightness down below, say 10 or 12, maybe down there in the 8. You need to use what works best for you, and you need to play with the different settings. That's one thing about Pulsars. They got a lot of options. You can set this thing up what you like the best. But I have noticed in some conditions where it's so sensitive that if I will pull up above the horizon of the ground into either the skyline or the tree line, then it might kind of, I don't know what the word is, but it will change so that now the trees look really good, but the ground in front of me is kind of dark, or vice versa. And it's not a big deal. It doesn't do it all the time. Again, it's kind of certain conditions, but I found the best way to get around that is to lower that contrast, get that contrast down really low, and it seems to kind of mitigate that some. It's the only thing, and I think, again, you're souping up the motor. You're squeezing everything you can out of these thermal sensors. And so sometimes there's going to be some small things like that you're going to notice. But overall, I'm going to tell you something, guys. Image quality is fantastic on this unit. It is an unbelievably good image. You're going to get a lot of detail. One thing that Pulsar has done really, really well at, and I think that the thermal sensors they're using are good at this, and Pulsar with their firmware, and the algorithms and everything they've done a great job at not just giving you a good picture of the animal, but you can get a good image of the background.
Yeah.
I mean, the trees, the limbs, the grass, the brush, the whatever. It's a I don't know what the word is, but you're getting a great image of everything you're looking at. I really think Pulsar has nailed that. And again, with the sensitivity on this, I mean, you can see, tiny birds sitting on limbs. I mean, it's really, really good.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, if you're running a Thermion right now, original Thermion or Thermion 2, just know that when you upgrade to the Pro, which has the newer sensor in it, you will have to adjust that contrast down a little bit because the sensitivity is very, very high. But yeah, it does show a lot more detail in the target and the animals that you're pointing it at. Obviously, some more. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say real quick. I mean, I gave 2 or 3 things there that I think were negatives. These are all things that we've talked about, but I just want to hit this one more time. Things that I really do like, I think are improvements. I think that focus knob, I know you really hit on that. Guys, this is a big deal. I don't dislike the focus ring on a Thermion. I have no problem with it. As Hans said, it wouldn't work on this design. And when I saw that little roller wheel up there, I was like, we were at SHOT Show, and I just walked up to it and I'm like, oh my gosh. And immediately I grab it and I was like, this is not bad. It feels different, kind of awkward because we're not used to it.
Right.
But what I like about it is I feel like it's kind of like the trail models where you've got that knob on the top.
Yeah.
You can really fine tune it because it's pretty easy to turn, so you can take 2 fingers. I feel like I can get a really good focus, and I think it was very smart the way they did it, where that knob goes all the way through, so it is ambidextrous.
Right.
Left or right-handed person can do it. Really good design. Again, one more thing, and I already mentioned this, but this gets brought up more and more now as people are asking about audio recording. And Pulsar has just got this audio recording down.
Yeah,
I mean, it is
sounds
really good. If that's something that's important to you, then this scope is going to be fabulous. If you're wanting to go out and create content, put it on YouTube, that sort of thing, then it's going to be good for you. If some guys do get hung up on audio, and I tell them, like, they probably don't want to hear what you were saying when you missed that coyote at 200 yards. They probably don't want to know, when you missed that hog at 50 yards.
Man.
Hey, listen, guys, I know this because I've heard Hans's audio when he makes those misses. So that's why I'm just,
yeah, a lot of it gets,
I'm just
a lot of that gets cut
kidding.
out. Yeah. The bad shots, but I don't make bad shots, because if you don't see it on the internet, it didn't happen. So I just, none of it never makes it to the internet.
Hans is a perfect shot. The animals are just not good at standing still. That's the problem.
Exactly. They got to move around.
No, but anyway, I just want to say, fabulous scope. Absolutely love it. I think it's the best Thermion ever, and there's been a lot of them. I mean, you got to remember, these Thermions originally came out in 2019, so we are several years down the road. This is the 3rd generation of Thermions. We have the Thermion 2, now the Thermion 2 Pro. I don't know what's next. We're going to add some more letters and numbers and names behind them, but this is the 3rd generation. They continue to get better and better.
Absolutely.
And, better battery life. Again, I know we talked about that a long time, but I don't think we can harp on that enough. If you're looking for a full-featured 640 high-resolution thermal scope with a laser rangefinder, I think this is definitely it. Now, we didn't talk about this, and I know we're running out of time. I do just want to say, if you're a long-range coyote hunter, this scope may not have the magnification that you need. I mean, it's just a 2-power base mag. Can you make it work? Sure. I think you're probably going to want something that's going to be more in that 3-power base mag if you're really doing a lot of, 200, 300, 400 yard shooting, whatever, way out there. But for normal, general, average
Mm-hmm.
shooting of anything between, 0 and 250, 300 yards, I think this is going to be a fabulous scope because, again, 2 power is fantastic image. You zoom it to 4 power and you still have a really good usable image quality at that digital zoom level. So anyway, I think it's a great scope.
Yeah, I think the vast majority of people are shooting under 200 yards anyway. I would say
Yep.
80% of the people in the market for a new scope, this would be something that could work for them. But like I said, if you're interested in purchasing the brand new Pulsar Thermion 2 XP50 LRF Pro, you can call us 877-350-1818. You can find it on the website outdoorlegacygear.com. Folks, when you call, you can talk to me. You can talk to Jason. Ask for either one of us. If Angela or Michaela answer the phone, they are wonderful help, and they keep the office and they keep everything moving. If we didn't have them, there would be no Outdoor Legacy. But when you call them, just ask for Hans if you have some questions about this, or you can ask for Jason. Also, I know you can't see it, but behind me I have a big whiteboard, and on that whiteboard is a list of thermal scopes that we still have to review, and it is very long, y'all. We've got a lot of reviews coming up. We're trying to organize and set them all, but it is a very long list and growing. And so stay with us, because we're going to continue to do more reviews on the latest in night vision and thermal optics. You can check out all of our past episodes on the latenightvision.show.com. And you can also please subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. Also, you can watch the shows on Facebook. So if you are on Facebook and you really don't care to be on YouTube, you can watch our complete episodes on Facebook. And please go follow us on Instagram. Follow Jason over at Outdoor Legacy on YouTube and on Instagram, and me on YouTube at Hans ETX and on YouTube and also on Instagram. So we appreciate you joining us for episode 207.
Hope y'all enjoyed the show. If you got questions about this scope or anything else, Hans told you how to get a hold of us. We would love to have your business. We really appreciate all the support that you've given us between now and next week. Y'all stay safe in the fields and keep making those bacon pancakes.